This is State of Exile, episode 23, and as promised, we got PvPers, we got some racers, and that's the discussion. PvE is taking a backseat this episode.
Goodbye. No, very little PvE discussion, maybe just a little bit in the intro.
So, as promised, I just want to thank Helmannn, Knifes Adsense for coming by. Helmann's a veteran racer. Knifes Adsense here are the PvPers, so thanks guys for tuning in.
Anytime.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So, what do we got going on today? Normally I just want to kick off a couple thank yous. So, thanks again, GGG, for allowing these kind of things to happen. You guys are awesome, very supportive of the community. It means a lot to us. And also, I want to thank everybody tuned in. It's really important that you guys keep coming by, or else we wouldn't be doing this. So, obviously, we're doing something right. Thanks for tuning in. But let's kick this off. An intro. What are we all up to? Helmannn, what's going on with you right now?
Currently I'm just playing Bloodlines, slowly working on the challenges, not taking it too seriously. If I get top 50, I do, but I definitely want to get 8 of 8 for the totem pool. Other than that, I've been working on our Righteous Fire character, doing EE with Cyclone, with Curse on Hit, Double Curse. It's going pretty well. Gonna farm it Siri with that, hopefully, and then turn it into a Righteous Fire Burning Discharger. My plan for now.
Nice.
Not too bad.
How are you finding the Righteous Fire now with the changes? I heard that it's got there's more regen available or something.
Yeah, I think I have with Vitality, I think I have around 15% life regen.
Mm.
And then that's before the plus max res and stuff, so it's pretty good. And
Nice.
as far as damage wise, I'm using almost a perfect at Series Scepter, which of course you have to buy, but that's 100% increased damage. Other than that, the EE dual curse really makes it viable still. Still not what it was with the cast on death bug, but still pretty good.
It's not something you can do with no gear anymore though, and still do crazy damage like before. 40k damage with nothing. No gear. Snapshotting red beaks. Ah, the dream.
Siri farmer. It's Siri's one of those things where the loot will always sell, but eventually the more people farm it, the lower it goes down in price. So it's just you just hold out till near the end of the league, a month left, and you just buy it all for dirt cheap. That's what's up.
Well, then the league's almost over, so
Hey.
Have a good time in that last month.
Exactly.
Although we don't know when that last month is going to be this season.
that's true.
Could be any month.
In terms of racing, what have you been up to? Have you been trying to meet every single race? Doing the no life race strat where you just wake up randomly to do them.
Not really. I've been taking it a lot more casual this season. I've never really tried for number 1 on the race season point ladder because that's never really interested me. I just like competing in a lot of races just because they interest me. It's fun to see your name in lights, and that's what I aim for. So I do races when I want, but a lot of times, as I'm ending my stream, there'll be a race coming up, and I'll be like, you know what? I'd rather get some sleep, or I'd rather watch a movie than do this race, just because it's not I'm not 100% dedicated to it anymore. But it's still a lot of fun.
Did you say you'd rather play Hearthstone instead of race?
Watch a movie or
I'm sorry.
go to sleep.
I'm sorry, Helmannn. I had to. So, Knives, what have you been up to right now?
Well, I'm just on Standard League farming some currency for my PvP builds because prices have inflated. The trade these days is more expensive than it was before the 1.3 patch. So to get my PvP characters above 100 on the ladder, I gotta start getting some cash into it. But I'm having a lot of fun with the 1v1 queue because it's just one fight after another, and the only thing you have to worry about is sometimes there's not enough people, and so you'll face the same person 3 or 4 times in a row. But it's really exciting to just jump into a match and just not have any idea what the other person's going to be running for their build and just have to figure it out on the go. So just having fun with PvP and just farming PvE when there's nobody in the queue.
It sounds like that sort of puzzle of trying to figure out the other guy each time is really exciting. So the new patch bringing some new PvPers in must be pretty exciting for you guys.
Yeah. And one of my favorite parts is being able to hot swap gear and gems in the middle of a match. Okay, I gotta get this Flask because they're freezing me, or they're using a lot of bleed, or even just like swapping out all my jewelry for a caster to get a Stone of Lashwar going.
Yeah. Just have like multiple gear sets sitting in your inventory ready for it.
Yeah.
I've always loved the idea of gear swapping. I think it's obviously in PvE, you're all sets. Usually, just you're leveling your gem spec. Rarely do you take full advantage of the weapon swap. But PvP seems like the place where weapon swapping or gear swapping is like king, and it's really cool. I think that's like next level play that we won't ever see in PvE.
Yeah,
Hats
it's just
off to you guys.
not necessary because you have a player that's really pushing you to squeeze every bit of value out and try every trick that you can. Whereas in PvE, that's not really happening so much, except for when they occasionally release new hard content like XIII, and people have to do sorts of crazy stuff to make that happen early on. But yeah, it is pretty interesting.
How about you, AdSense? What's going on for you right now?
Well, AdSense, my actual melee is pretty done on low level dueling on standard. So I'm getting a jump on the competition for PvP Season 2. I've been playing Torment. I've been farming maps and stuff and trying to get some currency and get some decent items to build a low level dueler on there. I've already got some pretty good alt art items. I already got my nice alt art ungils on standard. So I'm good. I moved on. Just having fun with the events that I do catch, but Torment is definitely where it's at for me right now. Working on a totally different kind of build to try to expand my skill set a little bit. Got a little too good at melee and not really that good at anything else.
Have you found that trying other specs, like playing more of like Spellcast or something, has helped you fight those people as your melee character?
Absolutely,
Awesome.
Significantly. I started playing a bow character on Torment, and all the smoke mining and mirror arrowing and blink arrowing, like I can totally predict movement patterns way better now because I know what it takes to beat a melee with those exact skills. So I'm kind of working on placing my smoke mines correctly relative to my traps, and it's definitely a completely different type of play than melee, which I mean, a lot of people that I duel with could attest to it. I push the pace a little bit, so even if it means I'm a little reckless when I'm playing, as long as I'm having fun, I don't really care, you know.
That's it. It seems like learning those weaknesses firsthand is sometimes the way to go. I think to become a good PvPer. I had the same sort of thing going on in StarCraft where I'd play other races just to learn sort of the weaknesses the hard way, so you could take advantage of them. Nice.
Something to ask about Blink Arrow and Mirror Arrow. Obviously, you can use it too to juke a lot. Do people ever use it on a trap or multi-trap to add more juking? Like, seriously.
In low-level dueling, I haven't seen anybody mess with it. Honestly, if I play a bower who... And I know everybody's going to blow up that I called it a bower again. If I play against a bow character and they're using a lot of blink and mirror, I put multi-strike back on my flicker strike. I hit 3 of them. 1 flicker kills each decoy, so I always end up with only the real person left. So it's not really that awful having to deal with blink and mirror. It just wastes a little bit of time. You know, you always got a flicker to destroy the fake ones and then find the real one again and chase them down. And
that is, see, there's a strat right there. That's a pretty interesting strat. I would have never thought of that.
Yep, flicker multi.
Just teleport to each one, see you later, I'm back on you. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, take a guess. Flicker will handle the rest. They never end up that far away from each other.
I imagine mirror and blink can sometimes be a skill that, if used incorrectly, could get you killed because against like an archer or something, it's going to be far worse.
Yeah, there really aren't competitive archers in low-level dueling, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I saw the build of the week recently was the Arc Spark character. Does that sort of thing do any well?
I have never had trouble against an Arc Spark character, so I didn't see the build of the week, but I can't name a good Arc Sparker off the top of my head. Pretty much cold or fireball traps are the only casters right now that are any good.
Is that do you think that's mostly because you played melee and maybe melee doesn't really have any problems with that? Maybe some other builds do.
I can't imagine that a bow character would have very much trouble with it. We all pretty much have max resists. If you have low resists, then that would be a problem. But I've always played overcapped resists, so maybe that's why lightning never gave me an issue. Knives, have you had trouble with
No, I think in arena one time somebody was saying, "Oh my gosh, why doesn't anybody play Arc? Like I'm the only one on the ladder." So I think there's like one guy playing
Oh,
Arc.
okay.
I was just going to bring that up because Arc is so popular in PvE, I figured I know it's used a lot as a utility skill to kill traps, as well as other things, just because of how Arc functions. With the new Reverberation wand that gives level 1 spell echo with +1 all gems, do any casters use that wand whatsoever for the spell echo, which you normally can't obtain in low level dueling, but you can with this wand?
I assume that you could build a build around it, but all the casters that I know in Gladiators, they were discussing it last night, and the consensus pretty much is that it's never worth it. The amount of cast speed and damage you can get on another wand is way more worth it.
And you can say you get your +1 like a chest with crafting it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. So spell echo is still not even worth it in PvE.
Yeah, it was a good idea, but the unique just it's too nerfed for the sake of just introducing spell echo. If they had introduced a higher level spell echo as a support on that, then we might see it being used more, but it's not right now.
Oh, interesting. I wasn't sure about that one. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, hey, you can't get echo normally in low level doing it. It's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming traps are great because the one-shot potential, the longer freeze duration potential, multiplier, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking traps, so good in PvP.
Freaking traps.
All right, so let's go into what Ziggy and I have been up to. So Ziggy, you can take the lead on this.
Alright, so me and Zeno have been doing something which I have entitled the Romantic Rainbow Discharge Conduit Dream Team.
No.
We decided to try and tackle the idea of creating builds that would not function separately, but function really, really well together. The idea that the sum would be greater than the parts. And we wanted to make builds that work really well. We tried thinking of so many different ideas, and we ended up sort of just settling on the an idea that has been done before, which is the one person playing conduit support and the other person playing discharge. But we've tried to take it to the next level as much as possible, do as many things to make sure that these characters synergize together. We're both running conduit. I'm feeding him endurance charges. He's using frenzy linked with you're using the Ramirez Banquet to get power charges, so you get frenzy and power charges whenever you attack anything, and he's supplying a bunch of auras, and then I'm just dealing all of the damage, and he's providing all of the support, and it's been working out really well, and it's sick fun. The idea is we want to make this build set, this build pair, that comes together, that the idea is an experienced player could play the support and get their friend into the game. It's like, hey, come play this, man, this is going to be really fun, trust me. And they kit up this guy and get them in, and they run ahead and tag everything with curses and with their attacks, and the other guy just runs into explodes everything. And it seems to be working pretty well so far. We're just kind of putting the final touches, the polish on it so far, but it's working pretty nicely. The
idea was the conduit discharge team has been built around before, and we wanted to add on to it. And the pyring, it's talked about so much, but it rarely has a very solid use. And discharge is one of the best uses for it, because you already could still do a ton of fire damage with your endurance charges, and now you could take those frenzies and add on top of it. It's a really, really good use for it. I actually got the idea originally from a guy, PuXPew, you might see him, I think he goes by Psycho or something. He did a solo build with that, and then I kind of just took it into a dream team kind of build. And I will say that this spec's a lot of fun. My supporter's using Frenzy, GMP, Curse on Hit, Chain, and then Ellie Weak, because he's getting power charges, still deals lightning damage. And then Warlord's Mark. The Warlord's Mark is to prevent him from dying while he has Val Pack. So long as it's not like a Curse Immune blue pack with a Reflect in there, which has happened, Ziggy should be fine. And then I'm also running a Leer cast to give him that extra push.
So good. I love it.
Oh my god.
And then I'm also running a one-socket Quill Ring corrupted with Culling Strike with a little bit of rarity. So if they are burning down, I'll just cull them right away for the extra loot, and we even got 11 uniques in a matter of 4 hours. So it is the perfect support setup. My DPS is 18.3. Okay,
that's very viable.
1800, just 18.3. I do nothing other than
tell them about your elemental equilibrium problem. So
right. Because I'm using Quill Rain and Leercast, and because I had no damage on gear, I had 0 to 1 cold damage at one point in time. And no, in fact, I was using the Asphyxis Wrath, and I had so little physical damage, the 20% conversion said 0 to 0 cold damage.
And rounded down.
EE would not even do damage.
So EE wasn't functioning because
I
it was
only
rounding
did
down to 0.
1 to 2 physical damage, and because 2% converted, 20% of 2 is 0.4, which is rounded down to 0, I had 0 cold damage. And I couldn't even proc EE with my Quill Rain. So I actually had to go out of my way to get like a little bit of cold damage on my gear just to proc my EE for him.
And when you were doing 0 to 1, EE was only working half the time, but it was reliable enough.
It's
so
it's a
good.
really fun build, and the thing with Pyre is it does stop proliferation if you kill a target that is burning with direct damage. But if you ignite a target and they die, the proliferation will remain. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a misunderstanding with that ring. You have to deal direct damage to a burning target for it to detonate.
Yeah, basically, if you one-shot a mob, it explodes and doesn't prolif, which is not really a problem, because if you're doing that, you're mostly killing everything anyway. But if you don't one-shot them, so it's a blue pack, then they prolif and they kill everything. So it works out quite well. The drawback is very rarely actually a drawback for discharge. So I think we've found the ring's intended use, basically, or its optimal use. Is definitely discharge, I think.
Yep. And the LE Prolif works for the shock on discharge from the power charges as well as the fire Prolif, so it's just a win-win. It's a really, really good spec. We're still working out some of the kinks. I'd like to run like a 4 curse Adsense with LE weak, the perfection, but whatever, I'm not really focused on that. That's all I really got to say about our builds. Other than that, I'm running like a CI build right now in Bloodlines, and I will say that CI feels really, really strong in Bloodlines right now because Otherworldly's in pretty much the gimmick one-shot right now, and those Devours that pop up with Otherworldly, direct counter to them, they still can hurt, and they still take a while to kill. And then the Bond of Chaos it's never really been a super problem, but it does negate that as well. So I think CI is pretty freaking strong in this league as well. But without further ado, I'd say we work our way into the main heart of this podcast. Screw the PvE discussion. Let's talk
Indeed.
some PvP. Some Knives, AdSense. We'll start with low-level dueling. Knives, so far, your experiences, what has been your most fun, favorite PvP queue out there right now?
Definitely just in terms of the queues that are up all the time.
No, like, is it 1v1? Is it the Swiss tournaments, the CTF?
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely pretty partial to the Swiss ones because I'm one of those people that likes to just be in queue for a while and maybe do some other stuff between matches. And it's very predictable. Like, you kind of, not you can't predict what your opponent is going to be using, but everybody's pretty competitive. There's no people using like the standard default gear. There's nobody that you're really gonna just poop all over. But there's also all the people like AdSense in there that are just wrecking everybody. And I like the way the rating works in that one. The arena is pretty fun. I wish my character was a little bit stronger, but other than that, I like the Swiss.
So you said you like waiting, like you do stuff in between queue times. Like how long can they last up to? Like if you have time to like do other things.
I think there's one match. It feels like 7 minutes or so.
That's not
it's just
terrible.
It's just so that it accommodates for people that go up to the like the end of the round every single time, which almost never happens.
Mm-hmm.
So if each round is, what is it, AdSense, like 2 minutes?
Each round, I think each round is 2 minutes, yeah, but I think I've ended with 11 minutes left, so sometimes I
Wow.
get quite a lot of time to just sit and
Yeah,
watch.
just like watch YouTube or
yeah,
read
exactly.
something, or shuffle up your build. I don't know.
If there was out of all of them, what would you say is the one that needs to be changed or just kind of removed? I mean, I have a feeling the 6v6 seems to be the biggest struggle for people.
Yeah, definitely either in the 3v3 or the 6v6 you need to be able to join as a single player, because I don't know anybody that has 3v3 teams laying around, like 3 people just
Me.
ready to go play, except for you.
Gotta join the right
Guildmaster over
guild.
here.
Yeah.
Part of having a low-level dueling guild of 90 members, it's pretty easy to find a 3v3.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
welcome anytime, Knives. Welcome anytime.
sweet.
So AdSense, like in terms of like improving, what do you think? Honestly, honest to God, right now, what needs the biggest improvement in PvP?
Are we still talking about Q or just in general?
Anything like EQs, general, whatever.
The biggest thing.
Very superlative, which I'm usually against. So
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's a lot of things, but I wouldn't really rank any as like being super more important than the other. Most of it is like quality of life things. Like in free for all, the ranking board shows up after you've started your after you've respawned. So you have to take a second to click out of it while you're being spawn camped, and that's pretty awful.
Yeah.
The way traps seem to scale with elementals is pretty insane right now. You know what? I got an answer actually for exactly what you asked. Number one is Cyclone. Cyclone is awful. I mean, it's so overpowered right now. And it syncs really, really well with the counter gems, so it's just been dominating. There's like no way to have a melee duel without using Cyclone right now.
Oh, didn't expect that. So the counter gems, talking about those, do you think that like, obviously block got a pretty big nerf, but I'm assuming in PvP block is still like super good, and then the counterattack gems, they're pretty much amazing, right?
People have gone to the extent where, like I was saying about Cyclone, Cycloners use at least some of them. I won't speak for everyone's build, but I know at least a few builds that are doing really, really well. Facebreakers or otherwise are using Cyclone in a 4-link because that's all it needs to be like ridiculously powerful. And then they have their counterattack gems in their chest, so they have like a 5-link or 6-link counterattack setup. It's appalling. I mean, you can't even attack half the people without killing yourself. So the counterattack gems really were maybe a good idea, but the way they've been implemented is just it's really build changing, and you have to like play range even as a melee to avoid getting killed off of somebody else's counter.
The only thing I could imagine you can do to that is to hard counter it, like with a Mortal Call. But otherwise, there's not much you can do, is there?
In low level dueling, we don't have like melee physical damage. You don't have that gem. You don't have faster. So almost all of our supports are elemental. You have added fire damage. You have fizz to lightning. So
even that doesn't help.
Immortal Call wouldn't really make that big of a difference. No, you would still be getting pretty wrecked. But like Facebreakers right now, Facebreakers made a huge comeback. And seriously, with 1500 life on a level 28 and 49% block, I hit one multi-strike and I can kill myself off of a Facebreaker's counterattack gems. It's pretty nuts.
Oh yeah, that 800% multi, or even legacy in standard. Holy crap!
Yeah, people are using like 998 legacies. It's pretty insane. A lot of people have.
Why not 1,000?
A lot of people corrupt either Vuln on hit or Temp Chains on hit. So it's pretty strong.
Facebreakers, man.
Rich in chat says that you can counterattack off counterattacks. Is that a valid counter?
It is actually. Your counterattacks do trigger off of counterattacks. But I always found the mechanics so funny. Like a Facebreaker that attacks at 1 attack per second can counter me at 3 attacks per second just because I attack faster than he does. Mechanically, it doesn't make any sense.
Like all of yours. Assuming he blocks like 2 or 3 of your hits.
Yeah, exactly. I attack at like 6 APS, so if he blocks half of mine, he counterattacks half the time. So he counterattacks at 3 APS, whereas manually he could only attack me at 1 APS. So I think there just needs to be a change in how they're implemented. If they want to make them really, really strong, they shouldn't be able to counter at the same speed that you're being attacked at. It just doesn't make any sense.
There is a cooldown on the single target one, but it is pretty short. The one that relies on block.
Run all 3, so...
Yeah.
Do you think they need to nerf that or make it so you can only use one exclusively in PvP?
I think that making them use one exclusively would be one way of making it less overpowered right now. Pretty much people are focusing melee builds on counter gems and then seeing what else they can do like afterward. So that's why everyone's Cyclone, because they're like, well, I want my counter gems to be, 5-linked, so what can I do with a 4-link? And I've actually met a couple of pretty decent heavy strikers or molten strikers who are running their main skill off of a 4-link because they want their counter gems in the bigger linked item. Yeah.
It's pretty absurd. So Knives, we were talking about legacy Facebreakers. Have you done any high-level dueling at all in Standard yet?
No, other than just like doing the daily Leo quests with randoms in global chat. the high level is just way too expensive. It's
That's
like
what it
god
sounds
tier
like.
stuff. People running around like with acceleration shrines all the time. Just it's too much for me.
And now in low level dueling, what do you? All right, so we have face breakers or legacies. What other legacies do you really see in low level dueling? Is that it?
Uniques for your main damage usually aren't the best in slot. Like for
Maybe
the only
Joffrey's, if anything.
Joffrey's
Brandis.
baptism,
Brand.
Crest of Parandus is the only one to, but so uniques get used, but I think face breakers are really the only ones that you'd be seeing legacy of.
Do either of you think that legacy should just be excluded all period from PvP? Do you think it just adds too much of an advantage, and of course the RMT to it as well?
I'd say if there was ever like a tournament or something, I would, but otherwise there aren't enough people with them that it's that annoying. It's just kind of a small problem.
What is your opinions on AdSense?
I mean, would be selling myself out if I said all legacy stuff should be banned. I've got one of those legacy hybrid modded swords with 182 DPS at level 28. So, so in the sense of my own interest, and I'll sell myself out before other people question my bias. I kind of don't mind legacy, and I don't mind that legacy face breakers are an option for people either. I think that it is a game about items and about gear, and that to exclude things like that is kind of like pushing it too far into a direction that's like it's too worried about like the balance, and that's like something I think Skyforth wrote a really interesting response in the PvP feedback forum, but I'll get into that later if the opportunity pops up. I think legacies are fine because you can always counter it with a different type of build rather than just trying to out damage them with an almost identical build in the same range, etc.
I can only imagine how much like the original legacy Bringer of Rain's going for, or like Soul Takers, the original Soul Taker. Well, I don't even know how many people are using Soul Taker in PvP. Never mind. But things like that are probably really absurd.
That is kind of the name of standard, though, isn't it? And there is going to be seasons and PvP to do in the challenge leagues that won't have these legacy items.
Well,
Yeah, I think they. Oh, sorry, Helmannn, you go.
I was just wondering if you did any high level duel, if you're only LLD as well.
I only do low-level dueling. I can't commit the kind of time to the game that I'd like to be wealthy enough to do high-level dueling. It's definitely a different world.
I know I've done a couple of the like 3v3 capture the flag events high level duel, and at least there's some people who just run like combs and like max, like basically an RF character, but like full life, full tankiness, and they're just a flag carrier. And unless like you have a low life level 21 arc totem or arc trapper that can one shot him, it's basically, which is still really hard to do. You can basically unkillable. Are there any specs like that in LLD that you have to deal with?
That are just unkillable?
Yeah, they can like pick up the flag and like basically
Oh,
unkillable
yeah. Actually,
unless you one shot them.
The introduction of the pre-configured characters made it so that people were making brand new builds just to run flags. So, so I have a nice #1 jet amulet from a CTF where Skyforth jumped on and made a full tank build just to carry the flag, and nobody could kill him. I mean, he had like 5 people running on his back, and nobody could take him down. And
what was he running like? What was he running for Flask? Like I heard like Quicksilvers are just the most broken thing in CTF.
I think it was just granites and Quicksilvers.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is that yes, Quicksilvers are very strong in CTF, but if you're going into a CTF without a Quicksilver to catch a flag carrier, then you're underprepared. So it's not. I don't think it's broken.
I've been asking around. I've been trying to do a lot of research. This is definitely more of an interview type podcast. Like Quicksilvers and CTF seems to be a big gripe. Not even granites as much as Quicksilvers. Do you think that maybe with the flag you should be move speed capped at like a certain amount, and any move speed advantages you can gain shouldn't exist? No.
When I played CTF, we had a split team, and I actually played Bo for the event, because if you're gonna set up a team without some sort of defense not reliant on you catching them, then that's a pretty poorly organized team. I mean, it is a team event, and it's supposed to be competitive. So just like in a 3v3 duel, a 3v3 or 6v6 CTF, you need to think about your team mechanics. So if you're going to expect to have everybody on your team be able to catch their flag carrier, and you don't have anything else sort of in place to handle that, then I think that your team is underprepared for that match. We always had a melee stand by our base, or their base. So if they tried to get our flag, we had somebody over there. If they tried to bring their flag back, we had somebody over there. We had traps in the middle, and we had a flag carrier. So honestly, you could have put anybody with the Quicksilvers on the other team, and odds are with a good setup, we still would have been able to take them out.
So, Knives, in your experience, CTF, is it your favorite one? It seems to be the most popular one.
I haven't had a chance to do very many of them. I did towards the beginning of the league. I jumped in it with a couple of my friends, and it was definitely fun. But it was the gear. Since it was the first couple of people going into it, the ratings were so far apart that there was just one guy that would just walk from base to base until the game was over and run the flag, and nobody could stop him.
So maybe you're saying matchmaking is not where it needs to be right now, Knives?
Yeah, I guess a little bit. But other than that, it was fun having the big team battles. Like, everybody would be fighting because they knew we couldn't kill the flag carrier, so we'd be having big fights like off to the side, and that was a ton of fun.
On the topic of MMR, I've heard quite a bit about it not being quite where it needs to be, especially here. Things about like there not being an MMR decay and people camping the top spots on the ladder and not having to log in and things like that. Would you guys mind sharing your thoughts on that?
I guess AdSense would be selling himself out on that one too.
I'm not in the rankings. Don't. I'm not in that spot. I was in the rankings like first week or so, and then all the high rollers from DPS Guild, Findel and Jennifer LLD that we saw for a while. The problem is that people made multiple builds with pre-configured characters with the same exact gear and put themselves on the ladder in the top 10 rankings over and over again with multiple characters. So in the top 10, there were probably 5 or 6 actual accounts, and there were duplicate builds with different names on them in them. So it was pretty garbage. Like they definitely needed to fix that. And once people in the top spots had secured those top spots, there was really nothing anybody could do to catch up to them. Once the queue died down, it doesn't matter how many matches you win, you're either facing somebody in the top 1 or 2, which is unlikely because they don't want to risk losing rating by actually engaging in duels. Like, it runs off of points and there's no decay. So if I've got 2,327 points up top and I'm 100 points ahead of anybody else, why am I going to play? They're never going to catch me. There's anybody they're going to duel is so far below them that they're barely getting a rating off of it, so they're never going to pass me. So why would I bother dueling? I could hypothetically lose, and winning doesn't get me anything. So
that's a real problem. Anything that encourages people to not play is a real problem.
And this is seen a lot. Usually companies take a little bit to catch on to this. For example, League, they finally introduced decay at some point too because of the same exact issue. And obviously this is Season 1, so this is the kind of feedback GGG needs to know and hear, that hey, guys are making multiple accounts, just swapping their gear over, maybe prevent that, or make it so that there's MMR decay over time, so that they actually have to play the damn game.
Seems like that would fix the problem.
Yep.
Another, sorry to jump back to the same thing, but another thing people were doing is because leveling up Leo is so difficult, people were creating multiple versions of the same characters to start off at low rankings where you get more matches. At high rankings, you sit for a long time before you get matched up. So people were starting new characters just to get easier 1v1 matchups with the same gear so that they could get kills in 1v1s so that they could get Leo rep. So I think it was discouraging a lot of new people from playing too, because even when you're ranked 3,400, you're facing some guy who just face rolls you.
Mm-hmm.
So
the fix, hold on. The fix is basically MMR decay. You think that would probably solve most of the problems, it seems?
I think rating decay would totally work, and I think that I think it would be difficult to implement but I think that having multiple characters on the rankings at the same time, I think that they should figure out a solution for that. For instance, if I have the best gear in low-level dueling, hypothetically, and I can put together 4 different characters and take the 4 top spots, do you think I should be able to do that? Well, that's maybe a discussion that needs to be held.
No.
So something I want to ask you guys about newer players. A lot of new players get discouraged when they they're like, hey, PvP's new, let's give it a go. And obviously as a new player coming in, you can't just throw together a random set and expect to do well. And a lot of people are being discouraged because there's these people who've been waiting for PvP since the beginning of this game's release. They walk in and just explode. What suggestions would you give to new players trying to get into PvP to actually contend with a decent gear set?
I could go first. Definitely, you can't just throw something together like you said. You need to save up a little bit of cash and really just go shopping, go on a shopping spree, get the stuff you need, get each slot having at least like 3 or 4 of the mods that you need, and get all your gems leveled up, and just check out what other people are doing. Like, you could start out with a bower doing tornado shot and puncture, or in melee, cyclone is super OP. But definitely, if there was just one thing, it would be ignore the default characters, because they are never going to win you a match.
I'm glad that was said. It's pretty cool that you could just get that free level 28, but don't use it here.
Yeah, just do the empty blank slate one.
Yep. What I do, and the reason I think that people haven't complained yet, there are definitely people better at low-level dueling than me, even in my own guild, but I think the reason that nobody's tried to overthrow me just yet is because even when I duel against people who are really, really below me, I'm not rude about it. I don't walk out with a crappy attitude. I don't. I always say, good luck, have fun at the beginning of a duel, and I always say good game at the end. And a lot of the time, what I do when I'm dueling people who are significantly below my character's level is I give them advice at the end. I mean, whether they want it or not is up to them. But I'll say, for instance, I've been playing a lot on my trapper, and there's a lot of bow and trap, and there's a lot of new people that I've been facing, and I tell them, you keep hitting my traps, man. Put Flicker Strike on, and I think that we as a community just need to be embracing like that. Stop kind of throwing your ego around and give people the same kind of advice that you got somewhere along the way. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, I think one of my best experiences was fighting this guy with a bow, and it was a really close match. We went 1-1-1-1, and in the last round, it was really close. And at the end, he was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be summoning all those zombies, because I was summoning them to destroy his traps and kind of body block some shots. But towards the end, he's like, yeah, it was just refilling all my flasks. I had infinite life, infinite mana. If you didn't summon them, I would have ran out of mana, and you could come up and kill me. So really, people in the queue helping each other out, kind of growing together, is really a great part of...
Seems like a smart thing to do. It's making things more competitive for you guys, which is probably going to make things more enjoyable.
Exactly.
You have to remember that this is Season 1. This is one of the most important things. And right now, obviously this is more testing for GGG than anything else. I don't think we're going to get, esports, anything crazy going on here. So whatever feedback you guys have, whether it's negative feedback, what needs to be improved, or straight up, this is what we love, put it on the forums. Don't have a little whiny attitude about it. Be 100% legit, constructive about it, because GGG needs this feedback. This is we're in the golden age of PoE. PvP finally came out. People have been waiting for it. Whether you want to or not, it's here. So it's very important as a community we keep this going. So let's go into it. We haven't really.
I have a question to bring up first. I'm curious about whether you guys have any ideas on what could be done to improve the accessibility of PvP for help. Because this is the patch that's getting PvP really going. What can be done to help people get into PvP? We have the starting of it was kind of giving these preset PvP characters, but as you guys said, they're not really competitive. And in order to have a proper PvP low-level dueling experience, you do really need to kind of put that commitment into put a couple of exalts, or at least a dozen chaos or so into a character before you can start to get a character that's kind of ready to PvP. But that's required. That's quite an investment for a lot of players to do before they know whether they actually like PvPing or not. Do you guys have any ideas of what could be done to sort of improve that sort of thing, make it more accessible for people?
Absolutely. There was an entire discussion on the PvP feedback forum, and it was about how if the pre-configured characters that you could just create at level 28, if they had, for instance, some sort of default unique item, like nobody's being very competitive with a regular tabula. It's got no defense, it's got no evade. So it wouldn't hurt to give somebody a tabula with the whole, cannot be traded or modified mod that they put on all the items that you get on a pre-configured character. For instance, if you got like a tabula and a pair of Lactonio Caress gloves, if you got just a generic rustic sash with some resists on it. Basically, if you gave people like tier 2 items to start off with, they'd be competitive with each other, but they wouldn't be, so far below maximum level that they couldn't force out a win with some good tactics sometimes. For instance, if they were playing a build that was a hard counter against somebody that had been working on their gear for just a little bit, they might still be able to win. And I think that the pre-configured characters, especially for people who are like new to the game and might not have an Exalt to their name, for instance, they don't know if they want to farm to better the character because they have no idea what low-level dueling is actually like, because all they're doing is whacking away and getting one shot.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely, like you said, there's only the PvP feedback forums on the GGG site. So even just like somewhere that could lead people to PoE Arena, where there's a really good community of PvPers, just somewhere where people can go to see just what's going on, like what builds are starting to get good, or just some kind of discussion other than just the feedback. And I guess my only other suggestion would maybe some kind of Bunny Hill queue, like just I don't know.
They're going down with their pizzas.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I get for the so the difference is like on the pre-made character, you're just saying having these second tier items instead of first tier.
What we have right now is they have like the kind of junk you would pick up on.
I know that, like the really bad stuff.
It's literally useless. You can't fight against anyone with the stuff that.
I've seen all that stuff. My question is, maybe like what if after season 1, instead of giving like the second tier gear, so like the uncorrupted tabula, like Lactonio Crest, stuff like that. What if, like, say, like the top 10 people on the ladder, everyone had access to that type of gear to use for their characters, so everyone's on that same page? Is that too catering to the casuals, or is that making it actual competitive for more people?
I think that that's fundamentally changing what the PvP is right now. I think then it's making it purely a contest of skill and tactics instead of making it about the gear. The only issue I have with that is that it kind of trivializes all the hard work that people put into getting those elite items if all of a sudden everybody has those, and I spent 50 exalts getting my sword or whatever.
I'd be pissed.
So I don't like that. I do like the idea of there being an option of a more level field, though. I don't think that my items should make me instantly able to face roll anybody who's just getting into it. I think that if I spawn AFK in a 1v1 match, I shouldn't still win that match.
You've done that before, haven't you?
Yeah, counter gems. It's awful.
So even though I'm not a dueler myself, I can sort of have an idea of what would help me get into it in this case. And I feel like another solution would be something that also wouldn't cause problems with the people that don't want to detract from the current idea that this dueling in this game is a gear-based thing. It's a gear-based game, gear-based dueling. That's the idea. I don't think the duelers actually want to change that. But the idea is to have for me, to have hybrid racing PvP events where it's together. It's just grouped into that. It's this kind of sealed off community. Just for that particular PvP event. So, to an extent, the challenge leagues and having seasons set in the challenge leagues will solve some of the issues there and create a bit more of a level playing field. But I'm also thinking shorter term things. Like we have Descent Champions where you're given a bunch of uniques at the start, having PvP events like that where you get like 1,000 karma points or something and you get to buy a bunch of gear for 10-15 minutes before the PvP event starts, and then everyone competes with that gear that they built just for that particular event. That sort of thing I'd be pretty hyped to get involved in.
Yeah, when you started talking about that, I was thinking about the Descent Champion setup, and that's actually just having an event like that, and maybe for a season on not even maybe a temp league, but maybe have a season on standard where every race or every event is sort of like that. I think that would be interesting, and I think that would really let people show that they were good at PvP and not just good at putting good items onto a character, you know?
For sure, that'd be exciting.
That'd be really good. More 15 Exalt bows at level 28.
Yeah, that made me think of the Cutthroat League. Did you guys ever get to try that?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh god. Helmannn killed me with his damn bear trap cold snap crap. I came out of Mervale and he's like, "Hey Zeno, you're dead. See you later."
Dead. Yeah, another league like that would be a ton of fun to test out PvP builds and stuff.
So the question I wanted to ask was OP. What's the OP specs? I'm assuming bowers, bear trap. What else is really, really popular? What is the most popular specs you see out there? Adsense, if you'd like to go first.
The most popular specs are definitely Cyclone or Tornado and Puncture Shot. I run into more of them than anything else. It's good because it allows people with a sort of mid-level investment into it to make a decently competitive melee. But it's not so bad. I mean, if you have decent gear and you have a decent spec and you have a decent idea of how to counter both builds, then the fact that everyone's kind of jumping onto the bandwagon with those two doesn't really bother me so much. It gets a little boring seeing the same thing over and over again, but all in all, this PvP season, the drop of 1.3 and all the balance changes has really brought some really interesting builds to the forefront. So overall, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I think I would also say the Tornado Shot and the Cyclone are really strong right now, but it just means that you always need to have an answer for that, and really you should have an answer to somebody that does a lot of melee damage and an answer to somebody who can hit you with their bow. So really it doesn't affect people who are trying to do other builds and other strategies, which I think is nice. There's more build diversity is always better.
So those seem to be the popular attack builds. How about casters? What are the caster builds you see out there?
Fire Ice.
So lightning's not even touched. They don't even use the shock.
You're muted.
You're still muted.
He's talking.
Yeah, I wasn't talking to you guys. I was. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was laying down the law.
Yep.
Yeah.
For me, it seems like a lot of people are going Freezing Pulse when they make caster, it makes sense. I mean, Freeze and Chill are both very, very strong, even if you counter Freeze with Wanderlust or with Dream Fragments. Chill is still very, very strong, and Freezing Pulse with lesser multiple projectiles is very strong in melee range. But really, most of the people getting started aren't running casters, at least not that I've seen. Everybody seems to be jumping to either Cyclone, some sort of generic melee skill like Heavy Strike or Infernal Blow with Face Breakers, or they're going Puncture and Tornado on bow.
Interesting. It's almost the opposite of PvE, where spells are a great way to start because they don't really need so much gear to be scaled, but seems like a bit different with low-level dueling.
To top out, I mean, honestly, you need +1 to gem levels corruptions on like all of your gear to be a top level caster, but the potential is like sky high, just like the potential is for casters in PvE. I haven't been one shot by a bow trap in a long, long time, but I get one shot by Freezing Pulse or Fireball traps all the time now.
Yeah, it's fundamentally different. Like, for a caster build, you really need every single one of your slots just having ridiculous corruptions or just excellent stats. Whereas for a melee or a bow build, you really just need the most damage you can get in your hands, and then everything else is kind of defense or other things, other utility. So it's a lot quicker to make your melee or bow builds.
Zeno, do you have that PoE Arena tier list, man? We could pull that up and have a look at it and discuss that.
Well, that's where I was getting to. That's why I asked if bows were the strongest. You know, I took what Green Dude said to heart, and it was pretty much like bows. What I wanted to ask you guys is curses. Curses are like probably insanely important. You know, that new ring that reduces the effectiveness of temp chains. Is that actually a good ring? Because I know temp chains is pretty insane in PvP. No, not really.
No, people pretty much run warding flasks. Either that or they wait out temp chains. Like, for instance, if I'm facing a bow build and I want to conserve my flasks, I have warding on all 5 of my flasks unless unless I'm playing a dedicated puncture build, and then I swap it out with a couple of staunchings. But wardings tend to do most of the work for you if you're like really in a tight spot and you got to get rid of that curse. But if somebody hits me with like temp chains on hit gloves from a distance, I'll probably just duck behind an obstacle and wait the temp chains out, and then try to figure out my plan of approach.
Do people use any of the new uniques that came out? Like, I know they like 10 or like 7 or 10.
People are using Prism Weave just for the recipe to get vicious on a weapon.
Oh my god, that's so.
What about Belt of the Deceiver? The less crit damage is.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody. Well, I haven't heard of anyone using Belt of the Deceiver, but that doesn't mean nobody's using it. But I've seen a couple on Torment of Brutus's sprinkler builds with Molten Strike. That seems to be working okay, actually.
Molten Strike seems to be really solid. When I was watching some things, I mean, Molten Strike is just ridiculously strong.
I've been playing Molten Strike forever since people were making fun of me for it because Molten Strike was so much weaker than Heavy Strike, and I was just like, no, it's got potential. Half the DPS is off the tooltip. I'm telling you. And now everybody with really OP gear who isn't playing Cyclone is playing Molten Strike, and it's. I mean, I know of one person specifically who has 10k tooltip on Molten Strike at level 28. Which means he's got something like 16k off tooltip because you can expect to land like a projectile every shot. It's pretty insane.
And how much HP do people have again in low-level dueling?
Well, at max end, about 1,500. That's pretty standard for max end. So yeah, it's. I mean, honestly, if you're standing underneath the Molten Strike when the projectiles come down, the match is over. Damage is way too high right now.
So I was saying they need to scale some of those things, and it was kind of unfortunate. You know, the new patch comes out, 26 new uniques, and most of them were going to the vendor, or 1 chaos, or not using PvP. I think that maybe they need to sit down with the community and have some, especially like the top tier low level duelers, and pick their brain if they're going to release some more LOD uniques out there. Make them not too OP, but actually make them used situationally good.
Yeah, they need to be, I mean, and we use this word a lot when we're talking about uniques in Path of Exile in general, but they need to be build enabling, you know, because otherwise a rare is going to be a better weapon than what I'm using. But if you happen to get a unique that has a curse on hit, but maybe the damage isn't that high, maybe you can make a build around that where that works really to your advantage. And I think that there are a lot of options that they can do to make things competitive for low-level dueling, where at least maybe you might not win a 1v1 if most of your gear is like low-level dueling uniques, but maybe you're still useful to a team in a 3v3, or maybe you're a good defensive build for a CTF. You know, there are a lot of options, and I was a lot more hopeful about the uniques as well for low.
So what about that EE ring with the unset ring?
The EE ring is the only thing that I've seen that people seem to actually nobody talks about it, so you have no idea who's using it.
I know, I was going to ask about it in the pre-show, but I'm glad you brought it up. I've seen it going for an Exalt on standard, so I'm guessing it's getting some use in low-level dueling.
I bought one for 1 chaos on standard. I don't use it.
Oh, bro! Killing it.
It's the first time where I've really felt like my 70 resist overcap on fire and cold has been beneficial, because now people are EEing me with Tempest Shield. So
rad. I'm glad that's seeing some use. That's awesome. So on the topic of the 1.3 uniques that were added for low-level dueling, when I first saw them, I thought these will see some use, at least at like item swaps, because they're all a bunch of soft counters. Essentially, was what it looked like they were designed to be. So I'm surprised that they aren't seeing much use. Is it just that they don't make that much of a difference? It's not worth gear swapping those sorts of things around. It sort of speaks to how hard it is, I think, to make good uniques for low-level dueling, I guess.
Yeah.
You want to take this one, Nice, or?
Oh yeah. I like that they're there. It's just that definitely rares or other uniques are usually better in the slot. That's just the only problem. It must be really hard to make uniques for low-level dueling because you don't want to make it too strong. But if there's anything I've learned from the uniques, it's that people will always find uses that you never thought of. So as long as the uniques are still coming, if any of them are really strong, they'll come to the top. Like the EE ring, people will see the benefits of it and incorporate it into their builds.
Well, I know when that was being designed, a big part of the final balance of it was that it went through a bunch of testing on alpha with the PvP guys. So I was like, I talked to the PvP guys a few times. I talked to Green Dude. I talked to the devs, and they were talking to the PvP guys, and it had a lot of back and forth about the balance of that item because of its impacts on low-level dueling. So it seems like some of you guys, at least that are on the alpha, are testing these things out in low-level dueling. But the meta, I guess, can be quite different, and it might not get enough testing on the alpha to just see how useful these things can be.
One of the questions I want to ask for you guys is overcap resist. It's probably stupid easy to get ridiculous high overcap resist. So penetration is obviously like really, really good for the caster meta. But things like EE and curses, I mean, does it even do anything? I mean, it's probably, you could probably get 150 all res, I would assume, at level 28 good gear, like really good gear.
Yeah.
It does something.
And,
It does, but I have elemental weakness on hit gloves on my main character, and the reason I do it is not because I expect everyone to have low enough resists for it to matter, but because I expect people to waste flasks in the process of getting rid of the curse. So even if I catch somebody with a shot on a bow on swap and I get cursed with elemental weakness, and then they see me approaching, they're probably going to hit a warding flask. Either that or they're going to retreat, in which case, kind of the dance starts all over again. But cursing, even if it's not being used for an effectiveness, is being used to force flasking.
it's hilarious. So people are so overcap resist, they see E on, like, curse, get rid of it.
Well, the fact
really...
is that I have been at this for a long time. I have a 6-link rare, 68 life, 3 resist chest on my 28 dueler. So I don't think there are that many people besides like the new guys coming in with the real currency. I don't think that many people have 150 all resist unless they've sacrificed a lot to do it.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I've got a dual resist or dual curse going right now with temp chains and frostbite. And I notice a significant difference on most people between hitting them when they have frostbite and hitting them when I don't. So it's, even if they do have overmax resists, even the curse's other effects like chill duration, maybe ignite duration, stuff like that, still has an effect on them, and it'll burn warding flasks too.
I was shocked when you said you have 5 freaking wardings. I did not expect that. I figured, a couple of bleeds, or maybe a granite armor, and you're like, nope, it's warden, boys.
I have my typical setup is 3 life flasks with warding, and then I have 2 granites with warding, and I have elemental options in my stash, and I have quicksilvers of warding in my stash, and warding seems to be the most important out of everything. I mean, staunchings have their place, but I have a few of them, and usually just a couple of them is enough to get me through a duel against a dedicated trapper. So.
Well, before we go into the next segment, Ziggy, did you have anything you want to ask these guys, or did you?
No, that covered it. We've got some pretty interesting info here. Covered a few of my big questions that I wanted to ask, especially putting forward that idea of accessibility. I think was a big one that I wanted to know about. It's good to hear if you guys are pretty keen on those sorts of ideas.
Speaking of flasks, how do you feel about the instant recovery on low health flasks?
Oh,
Me?
wow.
Yeah, AdSense.
I like the 100% increased on low life better because I'm relatively tanky, but I keep panicked just because if I'm fighting against like a Molten Strike, there's no time for 100% recovery on low life. Like, you're either going to hit the panicked or you're going to die. So panicked is definitely necessary. I think I have 2 and 2. 200% more on low life and 2 panicked.
I've never thought of these flasks even being used. It's freaking awesome.
It's 99% of a melee duel, if you have a relatively similar gear, is all flask management.
Oh, interesting.
It's weird how powerful flask management is in low level dueling.
It's the same in PvE, man. Just people don't give it enough credit, I think. Flask is super important.
The thing is that you get charges all the time in PvE.
That's
you kill
true.
Mob, get charges. I get charges sometimes when I win a round, and sometimes I don't get any at all. So if I come in, that's the reason that Blitz is so significantly different than any other type of low-level dueling, because every round you only have to go 1 round and you have a full 5-row of flasks. So I could spam everything, win or lose, and then have a fresh set the next round. But a Swiss or a best of 7 in general, you can't do that. You got to conserve.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Or make them blow their cursed warding flask with your dumpy E on
All
it.
the time.
There's your strat of the day right there, guys.
Mm.
Oh, I got a curse.
Also,
So let's go in the next part here. So Helmannn, I know you haven't had too much talk this first hour, and you've been very patient, staring into chat's soul and all with your eyes and your glorious smile. Let's go into racing. You are the subject matter expert. I will give you that. There are definitely a lot of great racers out there, but you have been, let's just say, pro for a long time. The good, bad, the ugly. This go around, we don't have Endless Ledge, and we got our Descent champions back. How do you feel about this race season overall?
Overall, I'm enjoying it. Like, I definitely enjoy all the races they're doing. I like that they brought back a couple of Exiles everywhere. I enjoy Descent champions. I like the new bursts they're coming out with. There's definitely a lot of races I like, for sure. I personally really like the signature race this season, so I think they're doing good things, but I mean, of course, there's also some things I like to see improved as well.
You don't miss 2-hour famine? I mean, I miss it.
I mean, famine really isn't a difficult mod once you know how to manage your flasks. Like, the only time you really worry about it is if maybe you're a caster fighting a boss, or once you're farming a zone. Just every time you go back to town to reset the zone, your flasks don't automatically recharge. So other than that, famine, once you know how to deal with it, it's basically a regular race.
So, where do we want to start with this? Let's go with race season rewards. How do you value this season's rewards? Good, bad?
So, Alpha Sal, everyone that I know wants one. Like, I don't know if anyone's shown the 3D art. I personally haven't seen it yet. I have one. I just don't take them out, just, for fun. But it's one of the coolest looking 2D arts I've seen in a while. Then you go to the 1,000 point reward, and it's a taste of hate. While really rare, really good flask, you can't show off a 3D art of a flask. And coming from last season, where I think it was last season, the 1,000 point was an amulet, and like before that, it was like a ring. It's just the very top tier reward being an item you can't show off to people is just so.
But it's alternate
frustrating.
For streamers, you get to see that when they watch your stream.
I mean, that's true.
you can always link it.
So we got Taste for Hate this one, which obviously is pretty damn OP. We had Rumi's Concoction, which now you're seeing in the Bloodlines. You got these legacy Rumis. Do you think Taste of Hate, Taste for Hate, whatever it's called, will eventually get nerfed, and then we'll have a similar situation maybe next week?
I think it probably needs to be nerfed, but I don't think they'll. I don't know if they actually will. It's definitely a really strong flask. Anyone who has one is using it. It's really good for reflect, really good for defenses. So definitely a really good flask.
And it's like, we had like pretty silly race rewards last go around, and this go around it seems like the rewards are actually pretty damn good. Alpha's Howl and Taste for Hate. So overall, you rate the rewards good more than just the alternate art.
I guess technically yes, but no, especially in a hardcore league, almost no one's gonna actually wear their alternate art gear. It's too expensive. Both, like, I just had a PM that I responded to. Some guy's like, "Hey, can I buy your Alpha Sound Standard for 100x?" I was like, "Well, I wouldn't sell it that cheap, and I keep my alt art gear, so no thanks." But I mean, the gear is worth too much to use it just for like that purposes. No one, especially with how few people get 1,000-point rewards, no one is gonna actually use your alternate art Taste of Hate. Maybe like the Stone of Lazarot's really cheap. People are probably like making a bunch of alt accounts, get a bunch of them, corrupt them.
Well,
that makes
you don't
sense.
actually need to use it though. You just get another Taste of Hate and then skin transfer this Taste of Hate to that Taste of Hate, and then you get the alternate art, and it's safe.
Please. No, it's not.
I mean,
You die with
maybe
the
not
alternate
for-
art, it goes to standard with it.
Yeah, no, but you can you can recover the alternate art, and you can use it in whatever league you like. Can you? I'm pretty sure you can, can't you?
No.
What does it do
I,
to
thought,
standard
I
with
thought
it?
if you die with it, it
That's
went to
it.
standard.
It still
with
goes
you.
to standard?
Goes
Yeah.
to
Oh, shit.
standard.
They need to
Like
change
you-
that.
If you like skin transfer combs onto your chest
Oh,
and die
damn.
with it, the combs isn't
My
standard
theory
too.
is wrong. Oh,
So,
man.
would you? We asked Chris on State of Exile 20, I believe it was, if they could maybe make alternate art available. Like, let's say it's in Standard League right now. I have a Prismatic Eclipse, the freaking lightsaber, and I want to use it in most current hardcore league. I took it out back in Ambush Invasion era, and is there any way you think that they should implement a way where you could take these all arts, put them in your MTX tab, and then put them in whatever league you want?
Oh, definitely. People have been asking that forever. Ever since skin transfers come out, people have been asking to do that, where you skin transfer the item and it goes in your MTX tab, and you can use it in any league. It doesn't matter. But it's just up to GGD to implement that feature.
And then my theory would work.
There we go. I'm
Here's
just trying
where-
to help you out, bro. I'm just trying to help you out.
It needs to be a thing. See, I thought it was a thing. It needs to be a thing.
Oh man. So obviously, with all the item discussion out of the way, what do you think in terms of this racing season needs to be improved upon?
Alright, so I know at least I do a lot of races. I don't do as many as everyone, but I do more than probably most. And there's a couple things I would like to change, of course. First of all, me and a couple people were talking, and the variety of races. It used to be there were a bunch of different types of races. You'd have the races we currently have. There'd be blamps, there'd be turbos, there'd be like lethals, there'd be all these different fun races. There'd be a lot of different regular races, party races. I know there's not really a lot of high competition for them, but me and the group of us over at Team Map Hack really enjoy doing the 3-hour party races. And the last one, I had to leave early, but I think it was Moors, Throg, and Cobalt made it to Merciless in a 3-hour race, which is pretty insane. And I mean, we really enjoyed doing those races for us. And this season, there's absolutely no 3-hour party races. There's no blamp races, no any of those. What they've done in this season, the season before this, is last season, I think, was the season of Endless Ledges, where that was the race you saw every time when they're doing a fun race. This season, it's the season of 40 Minutes as Champions. There's one almost every day. I don't see why they're focusing on only having one type of race over and over again. And that's just my opinion on it, but it doesn't really make sense to me to only repeat one race over and over again. Besides
Do you
the
think
signature.
it's more competitive having less variety, as in people can become more practice over the course of the season, get more competitive in it? Like Descent Champions, the idea, I guess, might be that Descent Champions gets more competitive over the course of the season because you're playing it more times.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, but we've also had a season where Descent Champions was the signature race, and there were probably 50 or 60 Descent Champion races. And 2 seasons later, there's another 40 Descent Champion races to do. It's really repetitive, and at least for people who do more races, it's really not that fun to do the same race over and over again without any reward like a signature race.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. The past couple of them, it's been like that. Descent wasn't in the last one; it was only in Sledge. I don't know why they did that. Do you have any theory of why they might have done that, Helmannn? Because that was the best part of racing, is it's the break of the normal monotony of the game, and then poof, gone.
I mean, I really don't know why. My theory would be, since they were so intent on PvP, they threw together a race season that just of easy races. But that'd be my only theory for it. Also, last season they was the introduction to boss kill races. So you had the Piety kill, you had Dominus kill, Brutus kill, Merva kill. All those were great. I don't think there's a single Dominus kill this one. And there's 1 or 2 Piety kills. They greatly nerfed the long races. And maybe through their studies, they saw a lot of people weren't competing in really long races, so in their opinion, it's not worth it. But for those of us who really enjoy racing, especially the longer races where it takes more skill to do better. It's frustrating or infuriating that they keep going to shorter and shorter races as the meta. Because the shorter races, the more RNG affects you.
Yep. Those burst races. Oh, look at Shrine. I'm in the lead now. Acceleration with a ton of freaking mobs right next to it. Shrine seemed to be the big QQ with those in boxes.
So here's the thing. It seems like they're trying to go to a rotation where each season they rotate in and out different race. Like we had a lot of Endless Ledge last season, and they started the boss kills. They've got the boss kills and Descent this time, and I guess next time probably going to have some Endless Ledge or maybe introduce a new type. And I think they're going to keep cycling these things. How do you feel about the idea of cycling these different races versus just having them all in this one season, more variety, rather than cycling them in and out each season?
I don't mind a couple of like signature races, like this time is Distant Champions, like going along with the signature race, like ones that are prevalent. But I still like seeing all the different other types of races. So like I mentioned Blamped, maybe not have a bunch of Blamped races, but have like one or two of them. Have a couple turbos, have a couple lethals, multi-prods. Those are all fun races. A couple seasons ago, or they ended where they did the fun races, signature races, and competitive races. But whenever they did a fun race, it was always the special mods that like don't like really affect racing in a bad way, make it harder for you to race. But it was more for fun to do, and people really enjoyed them. And I miss those that we don't get when there's so many of the same races in a season.
So the boss kill races got introduced. Obviously, they're pretty casual. 4 hour piety. I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. You were doing it in an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes, correct? I mean, that was just unreal. The average player was about 2 hours. Do you think these casual type races were good, or do you think that it's just catering to casuals, just like that?
I mean, I don't think it really caters. You're saying the boss kill races cater?
1 hour Brutus. I mean, even I did it in like 12 minutes or something, like ridiculous, 12, 13 minutes, and I was pretty freaking happy with myself.
So you got to look at racing at two-tiered. The first tier is winning. The second tier is getting points for your alternate art rewards. If you're looking at winning, it's not such for casuals really, because if you're not serious about it, you're not going to win. You're not going to be in the top. And then for the other aspect of it, casuals get points. More casual people get points because you can still kill Brutus in enough time. You can still get the top level in the time, but you might not. But I think you only get like 7 or 10 points as opposed to getting like, if I get first overall, I get 23 points. So I mean, it's a huge difference there. I think someone posted on Reddit yesterday or something talking about one of the piety kill races where he's like, I did the piety kill race and I was so proud of myself killing it in like 3 hours and 40 minutes. I did a fun build. I reached the top level and all this stuff, and it was great. Yeah, people do an hour and 20 minutes, but I still had a lot of fun competing, being able to kill the boss within this allotted time frame. So I mean, I think it's still good for newer players too. And the more you do those type of races, the better you get.
Yeah, I think these design of races, the boss kill races, are like awesome, so good. I think they need to take that design philosophy forwards with more races, honestly, because it does allow these dual different types of competitiveness, competing against yourself and just being able to get there and do the boss kill, and then competing against other races and trying to get that win. I think it's nice for both communities there. Gets everyone racing. It's good.
For sure.
Like, good fun.
That's the important thing, is getting more people racing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dominus one might have been overkill. The Piety one was alright, but I think the Val one was actually pretty good, because 2 hour Val was, it's not too bad, and it felt like it was the best time for the boss kill. I think it was like the most balanced one of them all. And I do think a 1 hour Brutus is a little bit excessive, but like you said, you need to get points somewhere. So it's not a bad idea. I'm up in the air on it.
See, personally, I think a really cool idea, I don't know if they can do it, but for those type of races, is instead of you having to be there when it starts, is the timer starts when you create your character. So say there's a 90-minute Mervo kill, and I can't be there until 45 minutes after the race starts, or someone else can't be there. The timer won't start until I create my character, and then it takes whatever time it takes me to create from the creation to kill the boss, and that's the time that goes up for competition-wise.
I like that idea, as long as they just make it one character per account. So
of course. That's currently you can't get multiple points for multiple.
I'll play devil's advocate on that idea of asynchronous racing. I think it would be nice and convenient, but I think the community aspect of racing, of everyone starting the race together and the chat and all that stuff is really exciting. And like for example, Diablo 3 has Greater Rifts, which is essentially asynchronous PvE competition. And so everyone's doing it at different times, and then it's just competing versus the leaderboard. It feels much more isolated and much more separate and much less of a community sort of thing like races are. You know, when you see all those people rush into town at the start of the race, it's a good feeling. I like it.
It is, but at the same time, you know, you have to wait until the next one comes up. I like Helmann's idea personally, Ziggy. I think that's the best way to do it because you'd be like, well, I killed Brutus first, I'm done, and then you know, for the next 90 minutes or next, you know, not 90 minutes, for the next 30 minutes, you're like watching the leaderboards to see who logged on late to beat you, and you're like, crap, I need to make a new character. I like that idea. Like the 1 hour Brutus is perfect for that.
See, the other thing is, it's more of a daily, like you can make it more of a daily thing. So like every day there's a race where you can log on whenever you want, and it goes by whoever killed it the fastest or whoever got the level the fastest gets the top of the leaderboard for that day, and you get points for that. Just so maybe someone who can't make a race at all that day because the races are at terrible times. A lot of the times race times aren't the best for EU or NA. Like they'll be.
I feel like the
during
signature
the
race should be like that. The signature race should be a daily race that's asynchronous. I think that'd be pretty rad. Having one like that would be awesome.
Yep. Maybe
Just as long as we don't completely lose that whole community racing thing, I'd be happy. I wouldn't want to make every race asynchronous.
No, not every single one. No, the boss kill ones, yeah, they could work. Not every single one. Maybe make like a 5 hour Uzbek and, you know, first person to kill him.
5 hours back.
That guy is pretty hard. Oh man.
So one of the other problems I have is once again going back to the point thing. So especially for signature races. So signature races, there's probably more signature races in the season than any other type of race. And if you die, you get no points, no matter what. Versus like a Descent Champions or an Endless Ledge, if you die, you get points for whatever level you hit. Descent Champions, whatever boss you killed, plus whatever level you hit. For signature races, in order to get top tier, in order to set a record, pretty much, you have to go full yellow, which is almost no life nodes, full damage, double iron rings, rustic sash, or not wearing a chest on casters, running double quicksilvers, triple quicksilvers, stuff like that. And when you die, even if it's with 1 minute left of the race, you get 0 points. And it's just like a huge waste of 90 minutes, 2 hours, hour and 25, however long the signature race is. And in my opinion, it discourages both top tier racers and more casual people from trying as hard as they can, because they know if they die, they get nothing. And that's just such a harsh reality from it. And either they need to add some type of getting points to signature races or all races, or take it away from the Descent Champions and Endless Ledges and stuff like that, because it's just too rewarding to die in those and not rewarding enough to die in other races.
Yep. Endless Ledge at the last 10 minutes, you're like, screw it, here we go. You know, you just
I love how YOLO you go at the end of those.
I die.
Yeah, who cares? So, I must admit, Helmannn, a little bit off topic here, but you and Host, a couple other guys, you did that whole famine challenge. I would love to see something like that in a race. I think that would, it encourages players to play extremely defensive, see how far you go. We already have Blamp, which is kind of like that, but now, you have Life Flask and things like that. It was, one of the most entertaining things I've seen on Twitch. And I
should probably explain the famine thing for people who are unfamiliar with it. Not everyone knows what it is.
If you want to, Helmannn, you are the one directly involved in that.
Oh, so it was, I think it was all on Host's idea. It was basically no life potions, no regen from the tree, no life gun on hit, no life gun on kill, basically no way to regen your health in any form or fashion. And basically you progress as far as you can in a party and just see how far you go. And there's absolutely no way to heal except when you level up. You can't go back to town to buy anything. And it was pretty fun. As far as an actual race, I don't know if you could actually make that something realistic.
Maybe
I don't think many
5 hour Uzbek sounds good now.
where he degens you and you have no way to counter it.
Oh man, that's so brutal.
Well, the only way you could get life back was leveling up. It was really entertaining watching, will we get Merveil this time? And you're like, well, we got to level up before we do her. And, it's just 5 mana flasks. everything. The only words I ever heard from my host was, "Yeah, that's banned." Like, it was just entertaining as all hell. I would love to see something like that. Really push yourself. No life leech, no nothing. So we've talked about things that you'd like to change. What do you think is actually really solid with the racing scene? We have a lot of, I'm sure, positives out there that GGG would like to hear about.
No.
No? Okay.
No,
Fair
I'm
enough.
kidding.
Get right.
So, let's see. So I really liked they did this season. They did a 12-minute burst race of Descent, which Descent is one of my favorite races that they've ever introduced. The original Descent, and they did a 12-minute burst of it. I wholeheartedly enjoyed that a lot. It was really fun. And I think yesterday or 2 days ago, they did a 24-minute burst races, which were new. Just interesting how the meta changes a little bit from it. Like the very first race, I think people only hit 13 or 14, and then after that, people started hitting 14 and 15. It's just like as people learn the races, they get better at them. And I always like new. While they're not like hard races, they're new and different. The signature race, I think, is a really good time interval. Also, for the signature race, they added a corrupted zone to almost every single zone, just to give players that interaction of is it worth it to do a corrupted zone in this area. Basically, no is the answer, unless you're playing a caster and you can make it worth it to do a corrupted zone really fast and get Vol Stormcall. That's the only way I can really see it being worthwhile. But right now, the meta for farming docks at in-game in the signature is go down, kill the dock, then do the corrupted zone. Every time you do the dock, or the corrupted zone changes, and sometimes it'll be like extra damage is lightning, monster damage, and stuff like that. Things you have to like prepare for, things that can kill you. And that's always interesting, and I really like the change to that, and stuff like that. It's really fun. There are a lot of races, so that's always good. I was a little worried initially. They announced the PvP season and the race season were going to come out, I think 3 or 4 days after Bloodlines and Torment came out, which I was really worried about because, when a new league comes out, you really want at least a week in it, to have your fun. Yeah. But they delayed PvP a little bit and then delayed the race season by like a week and a half. So they gave you ample time to get ready for it.
That was good.
How do you guys feel overall with the, Knifes Adsense? You can answer this one. We'll start with Helmannn, though. With the releasing during the holiday season, a lot of people went on break with GGG. To be expected, it's the holiday season. And they released, these PvP race seasons, right in the holiday break. Do you think that was the best time for them to do that in the future? Should they do it earlier, wait a little bit? Helmannn, what do you think?
The race season's going to happen. I'm much happier them releasing it during the holiday season than like last race season where they waited like 3.5, 4 months to release it. Much better this way. As far as the PvP goes, it's more of this is like the test season, I would say. So it's more of it's a better thing to learn now and then get ready for next season, which is like the Bloodlines Torment one. People have a lot less gear. I think a lot more people will be ready for it. It'll be after the holidays. So I don't mind when the PvP season release because I have done probably not as many events as the other two guys, but I've done my fair share of PvP events.
Knives, did it affect you at all things being released in the holiday season?
Personally, it was the best time it could have been released because this is the only time where I don't have classes and where I can stay up until like 5 a.m. for a 40-minute Descent race just for the fun of it. So I definitely liked the timing of it.
That's the thing about times. Everything's going to always screw someone over.
Yeah.
And then that's you in agreeance here, I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was a good time. The only negative about it was that, it kind of felt like GGG was all on vacation while we had a lot of complaints about certain tweaks and things like that needed to be implemented. But we all kind of expect them to be implemented for PvP Season 2, so... getting to actually commit to a lot of the events is something I wouldn't have been able to do if it was released at any time other than the holiday break. So it was pretty ideal.
You can't really blame him for going on break either. I mean, it's
No,
in holiday season.
Absolutely not.
I mean, what's another week?
TLDR, GGG needs to not take Christmas breaks anymore.
Yeah, how dare you?
It's inconvenient.
That's my demand. That's my demand.
You must be a slave to your video game.
Yeah.
Oh man, so we got about a half hour left. Actually, before we cut into that, Helmannn, do you want to talk anything else about racing? I know you could go on forever, like you said earlier. Is there anything you really have any gripes with?
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to talk about was 1 week races or like any of the top length races. So this past 1 week race, I was I was kind of competitive at it up until I died. But the biggest turnoff, I think, for a lot of people was top 5 get demi, as opposed to in the past. I think a couple of them have been like that, but it used to be like top 10. First it was top 20, then it was top 10. I don't think there's any reason it should only be top 5. It should be at least top 6 because, you know, a top team can have 6 people in it, so why wouldn't it be top 6?
Yeah.
There's 7
that
classes.
one guy. Poor guy.
There's 7 classes, so why wouldn't there be one for like each class, maybe stuff like that. You know, I think there should be more alternate demigod rewards, especially for how much of a time investment you have to put into that race in order to hit top 10. While you
that's
can,
a good point.
Yeah, go ahead.
This last 1 week race was really uncompetitive after people died. Like, no one really came back. Heaps of people died and didn't re-roll. Whereas usually you get people re-rolling because it's like, oh yeah, I can get in the top 20 still. But now it's like top 5, nah, gone. Not playing anymore. So it got really dead really quickly, that race.
I love watching those 1 week races because people like Helmannn, they'll die. Like I've watched you die at like level 40, and then within hours you're like, just no, I'm back in the top 10. Eat it. It's awesome watching those 1 weeks. And there's no if I die, I die.
Alright, and then the other thing I had for 1 week races is I think everyone so far they've done. If you reach this point bracket, you're entered into a random reward where you have a chance to win a, you know, top. If you reach level 80, 5 people will win wings. If you reach level 70, 10 people will win like this armor set. Well, I think all that's cool. I think there should be at least some break where you're guaranteed a reward. So like it'll promote people. Yeah, I'm gonna hit level 80 because I'm gonna win X. Whether it's like an alternative art, Shiver Sting, or from like a couple seasons ago, like just something, like some reward that people are working towards. Because I think they'll get a lot more participation, a lot more people trying to get like a high level.
That's actually a good way to bring back alternate arts too. That's an awesome idea. Holy shit.
The cosmetic reward entry thing that they did for this last one was a really good idea though. I think that was really solid. Just the top prize thing killed the higher level competition, I think, was my main issue with it. We've been talking a bit about 1 week races as well, Zeno. Our idea for this next 1 week race is most likely going to be Torment Bloodlines, but maybe we can make it a bit more fun than that. You want to explain your idea for that, Zeno?
I think, you know, we always have these hybrid leagues. We have blue mobs that have affixes now. We have yellow mobs that have affixes. We had invasion bosses, and we had beyond, which can spawn from anything. I think it would be pretty interesting for the 1 week this go around to be all 4 out of 5 exclude onslaught as the hardcore challenge, and maybe the softcore challenge be the ambush, torment, things like that. And you know, just keep out the lock boxes. Make it strictly those 4 leagues, like full on max. See how hard this is.
Do you
I would love to see
Nemesis, Invasion, Bloodlines,
and beyond?
Beyond.
I think it would be absolute mayhem, and that would be the true test of skill. It'd be lovely.
Yes.
We could put maybe one every lockbox has Ice Nova Freeze. There we go. We can add that too.
I'm okay with all of that except for Invasion.
That's
I
the
don't
whole
think anyone
point.
wants Invasion again.
No, but it'd be great for the 1 week. True test of skill. Oh man.
True test of Flame Blast.
Want to buy Flame Blast 5 Chaos.
Yeah.
Want to summon Goose 5 Chaos.
I would like to see some more interesting. I love the hybrid one. It's a great chance to try out the other league if you haven't already, so it would be sad to miss that, but I am more excited about the idea of a 1 week race that combines a bunch of them. So I hope we see something cool like that.
Well, yeah, here's the thing.
Rad.
Here's the mechanics you have. If Beyond's in there, the reason I want Beyond in there, they come up with a Nemesis mod, you know, that reflect can screw you. But they could come up with that blue mod, that P-Link. Have fun with that crap. You know, the whatever otherworldly Beyond mobs with tornado shot. Oh man,
Beyond mobs don't spawn with
not yet. They
mods.
don't, because they spawn with Nemesis mods right now. I'm sure they can implement that.
P-Link Sword Bros. Oh, man.
Oh god.
I'd rather a 1 week Exiles Everywhere. That's probably my favorite race right now.
Oh!
I think what you guys need is you need fracturing sea witches in their spawn with P-Link.
No.
Just now.
No. P-Link is the go. Like, I think everyone in the community is like, just get rid of it. Make it another camouflage predator. See you later.
Yeah, I think I'll say some of that. So, shall we move into some Q&A? Last half hour Q&A
Let's do
here?
it. Yep.
Okie dokie. I've got some good questions, but if you guys would like to ask more questions, because I think we have enough time, post it in the chat as @Q&A or at whoever you'd like to ask the question to, followed by your question. So first up we have Monkey Lord 4 Q&A at Adsense or Knives. How much money should I save to make a decent PvP build?
I think that depends purely on whether you intend on buying your gear off of people who are already PvPing, or if you intend on hunting, PoE trade, and finding some decent stuff. Honestly, to get up to like sort of competitive level on AdSense, I probably spent less than 1 Exalt initially, because I had bought every bit of gear that I had for like 2 Chaos or less. I sniped great deals on 15 quality gems instead of going for 20 qualities and things like that. Either that or you can spend 100 Exalts on a T1 weapon from some guy who's been low-level dueling for 9 months. So it's really up to you. I would say with like 10 Exalts, there's no reason you can't get up to competitive level if you're trying to get 20 Q gems and everything, as long as you shop your stuff smart.
That would be nice.
Pretty awesome answer.
I'd say definitely the more the better, but I think with an X and change, you can get a decent build going, enough that you can have some fun in the PvP queue.
It seems like Joffrey's is like a cheap, affordable weapon. Obviously, you have to 5 or 6 link it, but Joffrey seems like a good go-to weapon because they still sell for 1 to 2 chaos, and you can make a good build out of it. Correct?
An okay build. You're gonna get.
I would say Brutus's Sprinkler right now is more competitive than Joffrey's, but that's just my opinion. I'm not sure if that's. We might have to make a Joffrey's build and a Brutus's Sprinkler and duel them against each other and see how my opinion holds up.
Those shields are pretty next level with Reckoning.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next question here, Ziggy?
From Wannabe at ZiggyD, can you give us a schedule of the creation of the unique by the community, please? When is the next vote? I did want to answer this one because people keep asking me about it. So the community unique is currently on its most difficult and time-consuming phase. We are coming up with the ideas of the actual unique mods that you guys will be able to vote on. We have one solid one so far, and then a bunch of other ideas. So we need to nail down 4 or 5 ideas that you guys will be able to vote on. But I have to say, I don't want to give any spoilers really, but the at least the first one we've got up is freaking awesome. So if we can get a couple more of that level of awesomeness, I think you guys are going to have a tough vote ahead of you. It's going to be good. So next question comes in from Chasu Bao at Adsense and Knives. For someone new to PvP, do you think it's feasible to do both low-level dueling and endgame PvP, or should they pick one and specialize?
AdSense, you can go first.
Sure. I would say that you better have a whole lot of currency if you want to do both at the same time. Low-level dueling has become pretty currency-intensive, especially lately. If you really have enough currency to invest into a competitive high-level dueler, then you can probably spare a little bit to do low-level. I would say low-level is definitely cheaper.
And Knives.
Definitely, you're going to need a lot of currency because, like we said earlier, there's no return on your investment. So I don't know if you could even call it an investment. It's more of just like a black hole of your currency going into making these builds. So I definitely would start with low-level dueling because it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of those uniques are like an alch, so you can get started with some of that stuff. So a little bit more easier to get into. To get the really pro stuff, obviously, you need to spend a lot of exalts, but yeah. And we were talking about that in the pre-show, where you put all this money in, but you're not going to get any of it back because you can't farm on those characters. Alright. To MR Cod, at Q&A, anyone, what would be the best way to get into PvP? What do you guys say? First, I'll start off. Check out poearena.com, guys. There is some awesome guides and forums there. That's Green Dude's site, and it does a lot of awesome stuff for the PvP community. And I've had a browse through there, pretty awesome looking stuff. So that's a good place to start, I think.
Thank you for DDoS.
I'm not gonna link it in the chat. But you guys can check it out. PoE Arena. Any follow-ups, guys?
If you're starting out, just kind of just assume that you're going to get hit really hard, and so make sure you can do enough damage to kill somebody, but just kind of throw as much defense as you can into your build, and just run and jump into the queue, see what people are doing, and start from there.
Gather experience. Start tanking, gather experience.
Yeah.
What I would say more than anything, and this is once again purely my opinion, everybody wants to jump to whatever's the strongest spec right now. I would say make a build that you're going to have fun with, because if you're not going to have fun with it, then you're not going to play it, and you can keep making any build better and better and better, and you might find something you want to respec to, but a lot of the gear is reusable, you know. 68 life, 3 resist item is going to be useful on whatever build you want to put it onto, you know. So I would say pick a build that you actually want to play. Don't just pick a build because it's good.
Mm-hmm. But make sure the items you buy are versatile like that. You don't want to just focus on your hybrid caster dagger
and no glass cannons. Most of the time it's not going to work out well for you.
Yeah.
Just to reiterate, the Brutus Sprinkler, I believe, is torment only.
Yes, yeah. I realized that when I said it before, that it's like I said, I've been low level dueling on torment for like a
buy
week.
one and die and take it as standard. Probably be pretty cheap.
Not from torment.
Torment's softcore.
Wow.
Oh, torment. Oops, my bad.
You could run a torment map and chance
You're right.
it. That's
There
the
you go.
only chance
Torment
you
map
got.
and chance it.
Yeah, I love wasting
Damn.
money too.
Not such a cheap option then. All right, next one. Waza Baza 94. How do you guys counter traps in low-level dueling as melee? We talked about this a bit earlier, but one trap can kill someone. Clever construction doesn't work with arc.
I guess that's my specialty. Fire traps, arc if they're not clever construction, but even with non-clever construction traps, most of the time I use level 1 fire trap to keep the mana cost down, multi-trap, and then increased duration if I'm really worried about keeping that burning ground to keep it from being trapped again. Fire trap is definitely your friend.
Awesome stuff.
Also, Whirling Blades, I think, has a little bit of AoE where it can destroy them.
Really?
Reckoning, I believe, also breaks traps. So if you hit one, it's weird, it makes no sense, but if you hit one trap and it causes your counterattack to trigger, it'll break whatever traps are near you. Yeah, it's very odd. Cold Snap also, by the way, breaks traps, and so does Rain of Arrows. So a lot of people keep a bow swap on, and we'll just hit X, Rain of Arrow with a Quill Rain onto a little section of traps, switch back, and then flicker across.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome stuff. That's crazy. I didn't think those skills would work.
Does ranged attack totem get used at all? I saw that like when I was in PvP once. I saw it and I was like, "What the heck? Does that ever get used?"
Which?
A ranged attack totem.
I think it's level 31.
Oh, it's 31.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's a 31.
that would be. I'm really smart.
That's
Ziggy's
okay.
on fire today, right?
Don't worry, I've done 2 of those today.
I deserve the 4 face for that one.
That's why you got us here.
Next question comes in from Palandiel. Hi everyone, do the Templar changes have a positive effect on Lightning Strike by scaling the elemental part of the skill as well as the fizz part? Any insight on how to scale a build around such an uncommonly used skill gem? Lightning Strike's pretty old school. It was really common back before they added a bunch of things like Reeve and that. But I guess the main question is Templar changes. Yeah, go ahead, Zeno.
The
You
best
take
way
off
to
with
scale
that.
Lightning Strike is de-equip it and put it in Static Strike.
This is just equip a Mjolnir with arcs in it.
There you go. It's Mjolnir Strike, and honestly, of all
Mjolnir
the
Strike.
Templar nodes, you're going to have to go through the mana regen because melee does not affect the projectile damage, which is really what you're going after. So Templar change is actually not the best. Lightning Strike, I hate to say Molten Strike, and what is the other one? Lightning Strike, any of those projectile melee skills kind of got hurt this patch because it's all melee damage in the beginning of Duelist, Marauder, and Templar now. So that actually kind of hurt those specs.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of melee damage with the shields too, which is kind of rough on things like that.
Yep.
Okay, next.
Can we get one for Helmannn, please? I just want to hear his voice again.
Yeah,
Same
we got one.
smile.
At Helmannn, I don't know who this one came from, but could you discuss some of your high-level dueling PvP experience and build so far? I know we had some fun at least one night. Ooh, la la.
Dang.
So I don't know if I want to talk about that one night, but it's kosher for the stream. But so this is a little we talked about earlier. We did I did a 3v3 CTF the other day, and so it seems like almost a lot of the teams are pretty much the same. You have one person doing the arc totems and trying to one-shot because you just do insane DPS with them. And basically everyone comes up and you one-shot the screen, but also you take half a point of damage and you fall over dead. And so, I mean, that's like the top tier damage, but low survivability. Then seems like the teams normally have like a person that does okay damage, but also like can CC a little bit. That's kind of what I was playing. I was doing like my tornado shot. I had like ice shot, curse on hit Tim's chains just to continually slow people. And then it seems like teams have like a flag carrier. And the most obnoxious team we faced, the guy is a like 94, 96 Combs Marauder or Templar. His name's like Texas is an inappropriate word. And he runs around with like 15% regen, overcapped fire, overcapped everything, just running around probably over 10k life. If you don't one-shot him, he instantly regens all the way back up and he just runs around like unkillable, especially if you don't have like a lot of really strong DPS in your team. It's just really annoying because like there's nothing, granted we don't have like the most optimal PvP specs, but there's like nothing you can do against someone like that unless you one-shot them.
Do you think high-end PvP should have life regenerated, percentile like scaled down, maybe have an effectiveness on it?
Talking to someone, I don't remember who, but they said, what if there's like a grievous wounds curse or like a on hit effect, just like nerf the life regen that you can get, just some type of effect to negate at least part of the life regen, because you don't want to like completely nerf someone's build, but at least scale it down at some
You can't
part.
Righteous Fire in PvP anymore. Ha ha ha. Yeah.
The other one, I think I did a 3v3 with Green Dude and Willie, and there was this low life EK guy, like 96 shabs, like 6 auras, and he like lightning walked over and one shot all of us. And so there's always some really high damage, high level duel builds that can just absolutely wreck people. But besides that, it's been a pretty fun high level duel. There's a lot more variety of builds. Some annoying ones like Perma Cold Snap.
EK is also in low level dueling, it's just not that good, I don't think.
Sorry.
EK is always okay. It's always okay.
That remote
Sturdy as a
mine
rock.
trap, I will never forget the remote mine trap. Remote mine arc. Walk around a corner and just, you're dead. I love watching those. Those are always hilarious. And then not only that are you dead, but the guy that's near you is dead too because it's going to chain him. I love those. You don't see that in LOD actually.
No.
Alrighty, next question comes in from Corinth130, and he's curious about everyone's thoughts on the idea of trading being required to be able to PvP. Should self-found players be locked out of it? I'll want to take a part of this. We talked a bit earlier about the idea of having separate PvP events where you're given gear at the start, like, for example, Descent Champion style. I feel like that would be a nice solution for people that don't like trading. Then they could do some PvP events. What do you guys think overall about the idea of trading and gearing in PvP and stuff?
With the master crafting, you can always like as long as you have some currency, you can always craft pretty good LLD gear for yourself if you don't want to trade for it. So there's always that option for people.
If you got to make a weapon for low-level dueling, now you have the Prism Weave recipe to get vicious, and all you need to do is get a pretty good regal, throw Mastercraft on, and you're good. You got a weapon, a lot of people play self-found. A guy in my guild who's very good has been playing almost entirely self-found since like beta, and he just farms cruel mudflats for his stuff. The only issue is it's going to take you a lot longer. Trading is definitely faster.
Self-found is one of those things that's cool for a challenge, but if you're making a challenge just to be edgy, it's like,
yeah,
go to Starbucks, dude. Put on your flannel shirt and you drink your cappuccino.
Yeah, well, the idea is PvP is competing against other people, and if you want to compete against other people, then you got to do the things that make
Yeah,
you competitive.
I'm competing against other people. I just did it self-found, okay?
Yeah, I only play organic, GMO-free, self-found PvP.
GMO-free, certified organic.
Maximum hipster PvP.
Yeah, I think that captures the core of it. If you wanna play the game, you gotta play the game, and the game is community based. Like, we're all working together and against each other at the same time.
It sort of hints back at the argument that a lot of people have that they want like a completely non-gear based even PvP game, but that's really not what Path of Exile is.
Yeah.
And there are lots of games like that have that sort of experience, but I don't think we should make PvP. Even though for example, I don't like gear-based PvP. It's not something I really enjoy. But I don't want to make PvP in PoE that it is something different and something that doesn't exist in many other games. So it's unique in its own way.
It's a nightmare to balance, and I applaud GG for doing what they're trying to do. And just to reiterate to people out there, all the PvP balance changes they make only affect PvP. They do not affect PvE. I don't think there's been any changes that have affected PvE at all. You can argue the block change, but that's been needed in PvE for frickin' forever, let's be honest about it. And then maybe, what was the other thing? People say the duelist start got wrecked because of PvP, but there's no confirmation of that.
It
Those
got
are
wrecked
just
for other reasons.
Got wrecked because of racing.
Hey, it's still pretty strong. I still win.
It got wrecked because Jules got pants. I'm pretty sure that's the actual reason.
That red shirt is too OP, man. It's red because of all the blood stained from all the leap slamming.
Okay, let's move on to the next question here. Sweet size small at Helmannn. How difficult is it to get 500 point race reward if you can't do a lot of races? Personally, I can't really do 78-80% of races due to time, but I still want the alphas.
It's a simple mathematical question for you. How many races can you do? Divide the alphas, which is 500 points, over how many races you can do. That's how many points you have to get per race. If that number is greater than probably 8, then you need to be better at racing to get it, or you need to do more races. For a more casual racer, someone who's not as good, getting 6 to 8 races per race is obtainable. Getting anything higher than that, you need some skill. So at that point, it's just more races or more points per race.
That's it.
Can't
Math.
Math of
I
Exile.
got Rain Man over here in racing.
Math of Exile. Next, Avina. At Helmannn, how much currency do you have in alternate art items approximately?
Please.
All of it.
All of it. There we go. That's a good enough answer.
Next.
All of it.
Julie June 0511. Is Explosive Strongbox bugged, or did GGG nerf it? It is bugged. It is now been renamed to Timer Lockbox. It's on a timer before it opens. And then sometimes it randomly explodes just before it opens as well. And other times it doesn't. So be careful if you're playing hardcore, because sometimes it will just explode randomly.
It's like, we changed Stream of Monsters. Don't worry, guys. You don't have to wait forever now. But it explodes.
I can only assume that'll be getting fixed in a patch soon, guys. Scurvy Ed, please tell us about damage effectiveness on lightning tendrils. I'm guessing he's interested in how the mechanic of lightning tendril damage effectiveness works in the first place. Zeno, you want to take up this one, man?
It does 25% damage effectiveness, hits 4 times, hits for normal effectiveness. The end. Next.
You might want to know a little bit more about damage effectiveness, so
Okay.
I'll cover it.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you were to put added chaos onto lightning tendrils, it would be cut. The damage would be cut by 25% that it adds on. However, it hits
Down to
4
25%.
times and then goes right back to normal. It's kind of like Incinerate. It might say a lower damage effectiveness, but then you multiply it by 4 in big deeps.
Yeah, lightning tendrils is nice. Okay, at Helmannn, how difficult is it for a casual player to try for race rewards? This is basically the same question, so I might just skip the one. We kind of already answered that. Flightless Fallen, at PvP Dudes, are you seeing LLD items rise steeply in price now that low-level dueling is becoming more popular? And if so, does this defeat the purpose of LLD to not be currency gear dependent? Let's split this into 2 questions. Firstly, what economic impact have you guys seen of the recent patch in terms of low-level dueling gear?
Go ahead.
I don't know if I mentioned it on stream or when we were in like the pre-show, but yeah, they drove up a huge amount gear that I thought was like kind of secondary gear that I was holding on to just in case I wanted to make a backup character. I got like 10 Exalt offers on, so I mean anything pretty decent got a really big price increase.
I didn't start buying stuff until a couple weeks, or about a week before the patch dropped, so I don't know what it was like before. Definitely, it's been a shift in the price of things.
I think the best was the night before the patch when they said they were nerfing the hybrid role. I sat on stream and like Fightgar and Grindcore while all of us were like buying as many ults as we could, and I just sat there rolling every single type of weapon I could think of that I might ever need on hardcore, just because you need that hybrid role.
I did the same thing, but I did it like 2 days before, I think. As soon as I found out, I was just like, all right, to Cruel Mudflats, I want eye level 36 bases for everything.
Level 30.
So the next part of the question was, the follow-up was, does this defeat the purpose of low-level dueling to not be currency gear dependent? So that question presumes that the purpose of low-level dueling is to not be currency gear dependent. Would you guys like to tackle that idea?
You want to take it first, Knives?
Yeah, that's definitely not the assumption. It's a gear-based game, and so your low-level dueling is always going to be dependent on your gear. So there's always going to be people with more currency and people with less currency. I think we should definitely try to shorten the gap between the high and the low, but it's definitely still going to be there.
The idea of having those preset characters that you guys talked about earlier, I think would be nice with that tier 2 gear.
Yeah.
Not quite good enough, but good enough to still potentially be competitive.
Yeah.
For what?
I would say that the appeal of low-level dueling is not in being cheap. It's not inexpensive to make one. It still requires effort and it requires currency in the game, but the goal more so is min-maxing, like getting the most that you possibly can out of a character within a level constraint, within gear constraints. Because once you hit up to high-level dueling, you can wear anything. And you can just level up more. If you need 3 more points, I have to get from level 93 to 96, or whatever the case is. You have constraints in low-level dueling, and that's what kind of forces people to be a little more innovative rather than just saying, well, I could get more damage or I could get more life. At some point, you're like, I couldn't possibly get more life, so what else can I do?
Restriction pretty much always breeds innovation and creativity, I feel. So that's it. I think the main appeal of low-level dueling is the restriction of it. The fact that at level 28, some gems are just out of your reach and you can't ever use them. So you have to build around that idea. Next question is, at Helmannn, again, people really want to know this. What's your most valuable alternate art item? Is it the Carcass Jack?
So some people think it's the Carcass. I don't know. It's hard to tell. There's 3 items which I would say are the most expensive out of everything I have. Carcass Jack is the least produced alternative art item GG has ever released, just because that season I think only 11 people won it. After that would be the Vol's Devotion of last season or the season before, I don't remember, but only like 14 people won it. And then from season 1 it was the alternative art at series Mirror Shield. People have paid a lot of money for that because it's like, I think 24 of them were released, but it's from season 1. Most people who have them stopped playing the game or have already sold them to people who stopped playing the game or collected them. So
what about closed beta demos? Do you have any of those? And what
I didn't play in closed beta. I've tried to buy one a couple times, but not really gotten serious about buying one. But
they must be the most expensive though out of all of them.
They're expensive, but there are a lot more of them. Granted, a lot of people quit the game, and a lot of them were on a few characters. So like, Dime. I don't know if you know who Dime is, but he played in closed beta. He was like one of the top racers over there, and he had like 50 of them or 40 of them or something like that. Whereas like I think Morris had like 7 of them. So like, some people have a lot of them, and other people have 1 or didn't even play in closed beta. So like me, and have 0.
Helmannn, not to cut you off, do you guys want to go participate in this Swiss that's coming up in a couple minutes? Be real. I'll just go. We can cut it early. It's 3 minutes, guys.
I'm not participating in the Swiss either way. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I was thinking about it, but I don't mind.
All right, hey, they're PvPers. Just gotta ask.
No, I'm
Good
good.
let class
Good work,
out
Zeno.
early.
I got my
You've got a
own
duty of care here, and you've done well.
But I suppose we got time for one more, just in case Naso does want to go.
Okay. Another question is about Helmannn and your value of alternate. I'm just kidding.
Oh, Jesus.
This question's from Wazabuzzer94. What do you think about the separation with PvP leagues and regions? So the idea of that it's separated up into EU, US, and then each of the different leagues and everything. How do you guys feel about all that separation? And does it hurt a lot with queues and things like that, I guess?
The US and EU, I find myself going back to the login screen all the time and switching over to EU to see if there's anybody queued for EU. So maybe the queue should give you an option to do either if you don't mind the additional lag that you're going to incur and you really just want to duel, then maybe that should be an option. In general, I like that there was rankings for both, though, because some people just find playing on the other server to be pretty much unbearable, and I think that's fair of them to give two different rankings.
Do you think that maybe they should? That's right, though. But hardcore and softcore, it seems like hardcore is pretty much a desert land for queuing, from what I've been reading up on the forums and Reddit. Do you think that maybe they should combine the two, or should they keep them separate still?
I think it'd be really fun to combine in some sort of casual way, not in a competitive way, because I know that the argument is always that the people on hardcore think the people on softcore have like the most insane items, and how the gap is probably significant enough to put softcore guys up the top of the ranking, which I don't know if that is or is not the case, but that's what I've heard from a few different people. That's like a concern. But I think in some sort of a casual way, I think it would be very fun to have a non-ranked 1v1 queue where you could go cross-league. I think a lot of the hardcore guys would really like to know what the softcore guys duel like too. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Like, I've wanted to fight Fightgar since forever, but I don't have my build on hardcore, so I got no option.
This is something I found very interesting from reading the chat and listening to you guys, is that apparently the meta between hardcore and softcore low-level dueling is actually really different. There's a different economy. That's the only difference. There's literally no gameplay difference between hardcore and softcore low-level dueling, apart from the economy and the meta.
Mm-hmm. I mean, when you say economy in Standard League, it's kind of like to be expected, though.
Yeah, well, that's obviously going to have an impact on the meta, but it seems even outside of that there's just a big meta difference. But I suppose that happens when you have two small communities forming their own little metas kind of independently of each other, which seems what's happened. I'm kind of surprised it's actually happened at all. As a non-PvPer, that's an interesting thing to look in on.
Yeah, that's what's cool about the separation between the leagues, is you get to see, there's different economies, and for the people that think, oh, you shouldn't be able to trade in PvP and it should be just PvP, it gives them an option where there's less impact of trading in these other leagues.
Well, I think we're out of time now. I just want to thank Helmannn, Knives, and Adsense for coming along. This approach, I wanted to get people who are directly doing the thing, racing and PvP, whether they're the best out there or not. I try to get people that are well versed in it, because that's what they're doing in the game. So I appreciate all three of you guys coming by. Helmannn, thanks for coming by again. As always, you're good at your craft and your stream. It's awesome that we had you on board, dude. Thank you.
Of course.
It was really awesome to learn a lot from you guys about all this. Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for having us on.
Hey, no problem. The way how I found Knives and Adsense, if you're wondering, Knives sent me a message on Twitch, and I was like, you know what? This seems like a good guy, so I looked up his account, and he wasn't top tier, he wasn't bottom tier. I was like, you know what? I'll give this guy a shot. And I was like, do you know anyone else? And he said, yeah, AdSense, he's a GM over at Gladiators 13 with these badass Roman numerals. And a couple of my friends who used to be in my guild are now over there, and they vouched for me and everything, looked them up. And pretty good dudes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
The pleasure's all mine.
And again, thank you, GGG and Twitch, for your continued support of this podcast. And if you guys were wondering who we got for episode 24, we got Rich J Money. He will actually be here in Dallas, in this house, with Pox and I for the next episode. And for everyone wondering why Pox wasn't here, he's currently taking a break from PoE. So all three of us made a mutual discussion on why he just wanted to take a little break. No harm, no foul. And Helmannn, what the hell?
Breaking me out, man.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. We appreciate your continuous support as well. And that's all we got. Stay tuned for some MTX giveaways. And you should check out Helmannn on twitch.tv/Helmannn with 3 N's for a lot of high-level racing. Of course, ZiggyD Live. If you don't know him by now, you probably live under a rock. And Knifes Adsense. If you guys ever want to get with them, I believe Adsense and Knives are your names in game, correct?
AdSense is my name in the game, yeah.
And then yours was, what was yours, Knives?
Strong Kid is
You
the
guys
easiest one.
You can pick their brains about low-level dueling. I'm sure they wouldn't mind because they were pretty informative this go around. So thank you guys for tuning in. We're out.
See you later, guys.
Peace.
Bye.
Waiting for stream delay. Now
This will all be cut.